guest today is, well, you obviously know him. He's a man who likes to wear red, likes to wear gold, excuse me. He is one of the original Power Rangers. We have Mr. Austin St. John.
Good. What's going on? Probably don't need a microphone for that.
So you were here at Pensacon last year. How is it being back?
I love Pensacola. I love the Irish wakes too. What are those?
Irish wakes, yeah.
Is that what you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, there might be some of that.
Definitely, definitely. So again, feel free to come up to the microphone whenever you're ready for questions. We'll take questions here in just a couple of minutes. I did want to ask you a couple of things. Sorry.
Psych. It's more for... No, it's not. It's more for... No, it's not.
Tease. That's what we call it, tease. So what was it that made you want to get into acting?
A $20 bet.
$20 bet.
I was not an actor. I had no intention of being an actor. Although I always thought it was kind of cool, you know, like Terminator. I thought that was the height of acting. Now I understand it absolutely wasn't. But it was still a really cool movie. Anyway, a buddy of mine bet me $20. They advertised in the LA paper about this audition where they were looking for a group of teenagers with attitude, and then one of them needed martial arts, another should have been a gymnast, another they wanted to be a dancer, and then another one they wanted to be the super intelligent nerd type, and they were all very stereotypical type roles, you know. They didn't put color, race, or sex on it, but, you know, one guy was a jock, one guy was smart, one girl was the valley girl, I don't have to tell you who that was, you know, so stuff like that. And I went out I was like, no, I'm not going. 3 weeks go by, and a buddy of mine was like, I'll bet you $20 you won't be wasting your time if you go for this audition. Well, that was a lot of money in '93. I was like, that's gas money. You know, I grew up a Marine brat. I was like, yeah, I can fill my tank up twice on that. Today, you wouldn't get a quarter a tank on that, right? Maybe half. So finally, I gave in. I was like, all right, $20. Before I walked out the door, because I remember looking at my watch, they were already leaving me a message for the callback on my machine at home. And 5 auditions later, I lost $20.
So what, because you were really young when you were cast last year. You were 17, 18 years old?
You're saying I'm not young now?
Well, I wasn't saying that.
You see how he did that? That was slick. He was, you gotta watch this guy. Yeah, I was 17 when I auditioned. I signed a contract a week before my 18th birthday. And after that, it was all she wrote.
Was that intimidating at all?
No, my dad was a Marine, my mom was a cop. That was intimidating. Signing a contract at 17, I was like, all right, well, where's my dad? Where's my mom? Okay, I'm good.
All right, so I believe we had a question.
Now it's morphin' time.
Now it's morphin' time.
How do you feel about Elizabeth Banks being chosen to be Rita in the upcoming movie?
To every other man that appreciates a fine figure of a lady, how do you feel about Elizabeth Banks being Rita? Because I'm okay with it. This guy right here, yeah. You guys, Decree, I think that's how he pronounces it. He told me on Twitter, I can't remember. But he hit me up and said, you know, hey man, I might have some questions, love to chat with you about, because he's going to be playing Jason. Love to chat with you about your role. And I was like, hit me up, man, here's my phone number, which is something I don't normally do. And he hasn't called me back yet, so. No, I'm kidding, but we'll see how it goes. I'm pretty excited to see who they choose for all of these roles, and I've heard so many rumors, like all of you. You'd think I have like the Power Ranger hotline. It's just when things are blowing up, not when they cast new people. So I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to go. Hi.
Last year I remember you were doing a lot of talking about a film project you were working on, and I was wondering where you were at with that.
Well, now I've got about 6 projects. I've also, I don't remember last year if I'd already built a charity organization with some friends of mine. I have a couple of things going on. Good question, good memory. One is called the Heartland Image Foundation, and it is a 501c3 charitable organization. We do everything from feed the homeless to bring in school-age children and teach them how to film their own short movies and local commercials and stuff. Things that tie into their local community. So they write an essay, they bring it to us, we look over the essays, and then we basically make one of them a director, a producer, somebody does wardrobe, somebody handles the camera, or is a DP, director of photography. We put them all into various roles in their own film and teach them how to start it, shoot it, and finish it. We just completed our first one last summer, we've got that up. And we also, under that production company, produce Christian-themed type movies. One of which, well, it's not the one I talked about last time, but one of which we just did. I shot a short film in Ohio. It's called Gideon's Frontier. And it's basically about a guy named Gideon who struggles with his faith during the War of 1812. I play a character who is a general and a legend in history here in America, in the area of Ohio. His name is Simon Kenton. And I basically lead a group of special operations type warriors in the War of 1812 against the British and the Indians who were trying to take our country from us. So that was one project. We just did a short we're hoping to finance later this year. Survival's End was a project I talked about last year. The director and I have been so busy. This is a post-apocalyptic film that we're hoping to finish financing this year and have time to shoot. I've got a romantic comedy coming up. I've got a short film for cancer where I will play someone that has cancer and has to deal with how to tell his wife and the fact that it's back and he's not going to survive this time. And it's about those trials and tribulations. I'm also talking with the American Autism Society. We're looking to develop a project where we can get really an education out there on autism and Asperger's and the fact that autism is a spectrum. It's a large spectrum, and there are people who do exceptionally well. There are people who have more struggles, and not everybody that has autism is a child. Adults have autism, and various struggles that they go through, as well as the family members and some of their caretakers. So it is a family ordeal, not just an individual. So I've got a lot of projects coming up. I can't remember them all the time when I'm asked, but I'm working hard. I hope to have them out probably in the next year to 2 years, depending on which ones we're talking about.
First of all, it is wonderful to see you back here in Pensacola, Austin.
Thank you.
Second of all, I've read somewhere that you know multiple languages besides English, such as Japanese and Chinese, for instance. That may have been just a rumor, for instance. I don't know if that's true or not.
I got pretty good at Korean when I was in martial arts, when I was in Taekwondo specifically, and Hwarangdo. I got pretty good at Korean. I did have some martial arts related Japanese, but I was never fluent. I got pretty good at them, but I was never fluent. I do pretty well with Spanish, a little bit of Russian, and a little bit of German right now.
The second question I want to know is, what are your fondest memories of Richard Janelle, who played the role of Ernie?
We were all typecast. Rich was too. He was a big lummox. He was happy, dopey, happy to see everybody. There truly was a 5-second delay when you would ask him a question to the time the answer came out of his mouth. But in a loving sort of, he was really concentrating and he was thinking it through, you know. Rich, do you need to go to the restroom?
Also, one last question. There's a petition on change.org asking for the original cast all the way up to Turbo to do an MMP, to do a reunion. Would you be willing to rejoin the cat? Would you be willing to rejoin it if up to the task?
I think if they wrote the role right, you know, I did Forever Red. They asked me to come back and do Super Mega Force, but I was in the Middle East at the time, under contract to the government, so I couldn't leave what I was doing overseas to come home and, hey guys, stop shooting at each other. I gotta go film something for a week. I'll be right back.
Do you think it's possible now that Jude Lynn's returned? That Jude Lynn is doing Dino Charge now. Do you think it will be possible for you to return in future seasons? He hinted at it with the possibility of returning Rangers in future seasons in an interview?
You know, anything is possible.
Thank you once
You're welcome.
again.
Good questions. It was like Jeopardy. Where's the music? I wasn't sure about something. You made me think. Thank you, bud.
Actually, some good news for you, man. The Japanese version of Dino Charge, Mighty Morphin Red appears in a special episode. Anyway, more serious question. You're talking about all
I am wearing underwear. Oh, it's not. Oh, okay, all right.
I'm not. So.
What? I knew there was somebody in my closet this morning.
Yes. I wasn't the only one. But okay, I can make this 1,000 times worse. But on to something real. You're talking about all this charity work that you're doing. For any of us around here that want to follow the progress or even offer as much support as we can, is there any way we could track that, keep updated?
Sure. Number one, check out my social media. Any of that stuff. I make most of the announcements I do on Facebook because I can post much more, full videos, live links, stuff like that. Instagram, that's really great if I just want to post a picture of something and put up a short blurb with no links or any information. I have Twitter also, again, really short blurbs you can put up. So that works. You also, for my 501c3, it's called the Heartland Image Foundation. We just created it last year. You can go to heartlandimage.org, or you can go to Facebook, Heartland Image. I think it's foundation. They're brand new, they're upstarts, so feel free to like their page and share it with anybody that's interested. And you can check it out. We're doing lots of good things. Something I'm working on right now, actually, you'll see a couple ladies and one of my guys somewhere around the room, Quentin, Amanda, and Kat, waving their hands back there. A good buddy of mine who is by the name, he goes by the name of Gig Michaels. He passed away this January. He was a lead singer to a band, and he was one of the most sincere and touching individuals that I think I've met. And I didn't know him that long, but we got really close really fast. And we were going to do work with the Autism Society together, where he was going to bring up a couple of savants to play on stage with his band so that we could highlight some of the incredible talent that exists within the autism spectrum. Even if some of the social aspects sometimes aren't there. Some of these folks, maybe you've seen people that see a piano being played and sit down and recreate it at an amazing level. So he was looking into some of that. He passed away, and he was a up-and-coming band. So they hadn't made a lot of money yet. They were on the verge, but they hadn't. His tour manager is back there, Amanda. You can see her when she walks around. We are in the process of trying to prevent two of their investors from suing Gig's family and Amanda for funds that don't exist. And essentially, the morning after he died in the hospital, these people had lawsuit papers delivered to the doors of his family and the tour manager because all they were concerned about was money. And I understand that there are disagreements, but out of all the investors in this group who backed up Gig and believed in his work and his project and his message, none of them, and there are a lot of them, some of them just paid his electric bill. None of them are stepping forward for suit, just these two. And they weren't the biggest investors necessarily. So anyway, the point is, we're trying to keep Gig's music. He poured his heart and soul into his music. And he is, his heart and soul and his music belong with his family. These people are trying to take his music from his family so they can sell it and make money off of it. We're trying to prevent that. So if you see these guys around, raise your hands. We're doing a raffle, and nobody wants to give up money for nothing. One of the things I've told the ladies is I will sign an autographed trading card. They have quite a few of them right now. $20 will donate those funds to the raffle. There's a GoFundMe page, which you can also find online, so that you can reference these materials and the monies that are going. We're trying to raise $12,000. $5,000 helps each family hire a lawyer so they can defend themselves. That's how much money wasn't there when he died. Or you can just buy a raffle ticket for $10 if you would like. If you want to give $1, I would appreciate that. But I'm not going to push on that. Please feel free to speak with them. They'll give you the information. I will announce winners on my Facebook page tonight, tomorrow night, and the night after. So please feel free to speak with them. Speaking of charity work.
Thank you.
Show what the raffle prize is.
Oh, so is this the one I'm giving away tonight?
That and the San Diego Comic-Con Boom Studio cover.
Okay, so this I will sign, and this is being given away. Is it this evening, Kat?
Yes.
This evening, signed in your hands. So $20 for a raffle ticket for this. Is that right?
20 for a raffle ticket and a signed card. So you're already winning.
Raffle ticket, signed card, $20, and you might win this on the raffle ticket. We have some custom prints that are also going out, and these don't exist. These have never been put out. So first time, one time only, golden red hybrid. And then this is a custom piece. What is it, Kat?
San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. Boom
So,
Studio.
So here you go.
You can't buy that anymore.
You can't buy this either. So something to think about. I don't want to, I'm not trying to push you guys. I just wanted to let you know, especially since you asked. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
First, I just want to say that when you didn't do that Super Mega Force episode, Jason snatched it up. You should have seen the commercial. His face was plastered everywhere, just like he's always wanted. Second of all, I wanted to ask you about your experience. What was it like to be recast for the Gold Ranger after having to leave the Red Ranger role?
Well, it was pretty interesting. I got a call from Haim Saban Shuki. Have any of you ever heard Haim speak? Or Shuki? They're the show owners. They have, and I'm going to slaughter this, I'm not very good, but they have very typical, Israeli, very slow, accent. That's more Russian. But anyway, so I got a call. Austin, it's been a long time. What we should speak? What do you think? Come talk to me. We have episodes. I know you have episodes. I've been in them. A lot of them. No, we have something new outfit, Gold Ranger, theme music, fancy things. You should come check it out. We'll get back to that. So one of the things, I was like, all right, well, let's check it out. So I came out to a movie where little Blake Foster, he was this big. So every time I see him now this big, I'm like, what happened? What did they feed you? Anyway, so he's sitting there doing this thing about some dog movie. It was a movie that had to do with a dog. I don't remember anymore. And Shuki and I got to talking. He's like, we want to bring you back second movie and maybe 20 episodes, Gold Ranger. What do you think? I'm like, I want to be a bad guy in the movie. Tell me more about this Gold Ranger thing. And so we talked, and I was like, okay. And you realize that I'm not going to pay you to be a part of a TV series like before. He was like, well, let's work it out. How much you want? I was like, enough to pay my rent? Maybe a car payment? Is that asking a lot? I mean, it's kind of what you get at Burger King if you work the window, right? So anyway, we worked it out, and I came back, and that's how that happened.
Really?
Yeah. I had a lot of fun being here.
Just want to say thank you for coming back again. I really enjoyed you last time, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I just wanted to ask, what was one of your favorite memorable moments on set during your first time as Red Ranger and everything?
Actually on set or throughout the history of the show?
Throughout the history of the show.
Man, there are a couple of amazing moments. I think that's a good question. Every time I get asked, I think of something new because there were so many. So I'm not trying to be sneaky. There are a lot of moments. It's pretty cool. I think one of which was probably the first time they had brought fans to set. And I remember this mom coming in. I didn't even see the little one because he was glued to a butt cheek, I think, on the back. Just, And she gets up there and he's like, he's being shy. And she's, I have kids now, so I understand. She keeps reaching around. I thought maybe she had an itch. But, it was her son. And little guy, just dark brown hair, big doe eyes. And it was I think there were, it was the original 5. Audrey was gone, so Twee was in. So we had our 6th Ranger. Twee was there. So it was the 5 that you saw on the cast. until the unaired pilot. And he kind of poked his head out and he just looked at me. And it was just these big eyes, like Superman was in the room, but he wasn't. It was the Red Ranger. And that's when it hit me for the first time how deeply we were impacting, you know, the next generation. And I remember it blew me away. In fact, I can visualize it to this day, and there are a lot of things I don't remember anymore, but that's one I do. So that was a really cool moment for me.
I've read that there was a lot of controversy on set with the original show. What was it like day to day on set?
What controversy?
Well, I mean, like,
We were a huge family.
oh really?
Yeah.
Okay, because
I mean, we all hated the owner. Well, one of us didn't.
well, I mean, I've seen articles on where like they bullied Billy and to the point of he just walked out.
You know, that happened after my time.
Really?
I've had some conversations with him about that. I don't feel like it's my place to discuss that. He has shared similar thoughts with me. To what detail the articles are written, I don't know. I'm not big on controversy or talk. But I'll tell you that, you know, any job, you work at McDonald's, Starbucks, you're a lawyer, an attorney, a doctor, or, you know, a guy that cleans septic tanks for a living, you know, you all work and you all have personalities and there's going to be clash. Doesn't matter what job it is. So, you know, there were different personalities. There were moments, especially all the time we spent together. Oh my gosh, did we spend some time together. We filmed 18-hour days the first season. It was, we knew when each other went to the bathroom. So, you know, weeks where we were tired and personalities clashed, but all in all, we were the upstarts. You know, the first 5, we made this incredible TV show, blew it up. We got picked up by a network, which we didn't think would happen. We never dreamt that would happen. And then we hit #1 in the ratings, and then more Rangers started coming in, and it just turned into this tidal wave. So it was an experience from day one. It was high pressure. You had a bunch of very young personalities, me specifically. Everybody else was older than me, I'm happy to say. So it was neat, it was high pressure, it was a lot of work, it was exciting, and it was stressful. It was everything you would think it would be, and then some.
Thank you.
Hi.
Okay, first of all, super fan, like, yeah. Anyway, now suddenly I'm nervous. What's like the, I don't know, like your favorite blooper moment that happened?
A few of those too. We had, how many of you seen the episode, and I don't remember the name of the episode, they kind of run together for me. But Zach was in a hallway, we were all facing him, and a spider lands on his shoulder. Okay, that was a blooper. That spider came home with us, we named him Homie. He lived in an aquarium in our wall for years, because Walter, who played Zach, he and I shared a place with some of the stunt guys for years. Because that's the only way we could pay the bills, we had to share them. But Homie, when they brought him in, they had this spider handler, and Zach was like, wait, you gonna put what on my shoulder in this episode? You don't have a rubber spider? You don't have something like that? And they were like, no, we got a real spider, it's tarantula, we want to see it move. He's like, I don't. And I'm chuckling at this point, and I'm like, man, I heard that they kill people in the Amazon. You know, what are you gonna eat their whole face off? You know, I'm just playing it up, having a good time with this, because it's not on my shoulder. And he's, you know, he had a few choice words for that, told me where I could stick it. And so we chatted, and finally the handler comes up, and he's trying to make it better. He comes up, and he's this, you know, small frame guy, and he's like, hey man, don't worry about it. No, tarantulas are great. And he's got it in his hand, and it was as big as his hand, and hairier than my face. I was like, wow, that's a spider? Are you sure? So he's like, yeah, no worries, no big deal. See, I already fed him 9 cockroaches this morning. That didn't help. And Walter, I can just see him, he's like, oh, okay. And he's not taking his eyes off this thing. So me being me, I'm like, ooh, and I jump, and he kind of jumps back. And so no big deal. And he's like, he's not hungry, and don't worry, you can always tell when a spider's gonna attack, because it raises its front 2, he had a name for it, I'm gonna call them legs. I was like, okay, all right, front 2 legs come up, that's bad. Mental note. So no big deal. We get in the scene, we're in the hallway, and basically what happens, the way it works in film, is we're doing our thing and they call freeze. All the actors, everybody in front of the camera, we all freeze in position. And then homeboy with the spider handler, he probably has a crazy name like Magic Mike, I don't know. So he comes running in, drops the spider on his shoulder, and then runs out, and then they call a second action. Action! And then we all react like the spider just magically appeared. Well, Zach was supposed to be like, oh my God, it's a spider. Well, he did. And he turned, he looked, and we're all like doing this number, and he's like, what, oh my, and he goes, well, when he screamed, the spider got pissed. So the spider turns and looks at him, like about face, and I was like, oh, he didn't like that. And then the front two legs came up, I was like, oh, they said that's bad. They said that's bad right there, that's bad, so bad. And at this point, Walter goes from terror to like sheer, he'd been happier to jump into a volcano face first. And he's just like, he was frozen. I was like, and I'm trying to build up the courage to walk over there and swat the thing off. And then Magic Mike was like, in and out, scooped it up, gone. I was like, wow, that was cool. And Walter's sitting there, he's just like, I'm done, oh no. And, Mike, walk out. So it was kind of a moment where we all laughed and we were like, better you than me. But he didn't get bit, and we took him home and we fed him lots of cockroaches and water, and we had many parties where everybody talked about homie.
Thank you. Hi. When you first were going to do the show, did you ever watch any of the original Super Sentai to prepare?
There's no preparing for that. Still isn't. They, somewhere in the audition process, I think once they'd figured out, thousands and thousands and thousands of people showed up for each of our roles. It was not easy to get our roles. Towards the end, once they narrowed it down to 3 groups, they had a tall group, a medium group, and a short group. Because they were trying to figure out publicity or packaging or whatever was aesthetically pleasing, I don't know, whatever they do. And so they brought in and sat us down for a little bit of footage to try and show us what we were doing. But it was all the Japanese footage with, fights, with suits. And I remember the first time I saw it, I just looked at it and went, oh my gosh. Did you see that, man? He was like, yeah, man, did you see that? What'd you think? I was like, I don't know, what'd you think? He was like, spandex? Really, spandex? And Amy Jo was like, spandex isn't that bad. And we're like, you're a girl. I never worn spandex a day in my life. What are you doing? So we had a few conversations. And I was like, what's with the big white diamond? Is that like, are you gonna have clubs? Whose hearts? So we had a few conversations and jokes, but we all appreciate, or at least I did, I appreciated the martial arts and the talent and the hard work that went into it. But that really, they showed us, it was like a 15-second clip. That was it. And then they brought in the guy who was a stunt choreographer for Wesley Snipes at the time for the movie Rising Sun. And that's when I immediately was like, wow, he's a master of Waterloo. At the time, the highest rank I had was a second-degree black belt. I was like, I'm gonna get my butt kicked. And so then the audition process continued, and it went on, and clearly I didn't get my butt kicked, I don't know how, but that was really the only exposure I had to it, until we started ADR. And that was a whole other animal, but it was pretty cool. I still don't enjoy spandex though, just for the record.
First of all, I just wanted to say that when I started watching the show, you and Jason were my inspiration to start martial arts myself. And I followed it for many years. My question is, do you still do any sort of martial arts, and how do you keep up?
Well, the last 2 years I've been home now from the Middle East, but I spent 4 years overseas. So there wasn't really a martial arts studio for me over there. But I did do Krav Maga and combatives, things like that with soldiers, Marines, things like that. But it wasn't formal like you would think of it here. Prior to that, I did some training when I found guys that were around. I wasn't in studios. I was working my way through college. Hard. I was waiting tables, bartending. I was working as a paramedic, paying the bills. I didn't have a whole lot of time to study. I was living my life that way. I did it one time out of studios. I wrote a book. I put it out. I've just chosen a new master this year, Master Lear. And I'm gonna be starting now probably, I can't even keep track, probably 19th, 20th martial art. And no, I don't have black belts in all of them. It's gonna be Kempo, Kempo, and it's gonna be blended with all 5 animal styles. And I may touch on some Qigong, I'm not sure about that yet. But I'm gonna take, if you go to my Facebook page, or any of my social media, I put flyers up. In fact, you can see them at my table. Kat may have some here, but I'm taking 30 to 50 people to China later this year, and we're gonna go study at a 2,000-year-old temple. So we'll fly in through Beijing, we'll spend 8 days in country. Several days going in, you'll get to see the Great Wall, Forbidden City, a couple of really cool sites. And then we will spend 4 days at a temple that is 2,000 years old. And there will be legitimately hand-picked masters there who train in arts that I haven't, where I will go and begin again. So I'm looking forward to it. I think there are quite a few people that have come through. We should have articles coming out in Black Belt Magazine, I hope soon, and Kung Fu Magazine, places like that. So quite a lot coming up.
Any other questions?
You have really good kids. I'm impressed.
Something that I did want to ask you, what was it that made you want to get into martial arts?
Well, my father, he pretty much just told me. The morning of my 5th birthday, he woke me up and he'd been telling me, I'd seen him train around the house. He was big into Kenpo, K-E-N-P-O, and kickboxing. And he'd done a lot of Newaza, he'd done some grappling, stand-up grappling, stand-up jiu-jitsu. Everybody thinks jiu-jitsu is grappling now, because most of it is today, but there are many forms of jiu-jitsu. Anyway, and he had told me that we were going to train, and the morning of my 5th birthday, he woke me up, and for a long time, we trained together after that. And just went on and on. For years, I fell in love with it. I ended up in judo, I went through taekwondo, Chongdo-kwan taekwondo, went through Kenpo, Newaza, kickboxing, Hwarendo. It just went on and on for my whole life, for a long time, probably regularly until about maybe 9-10 years ago. And now I'm working my way back into it again.
What's been the most difficult form of martial arts that you've learned?
Well, I mean, when you say the word difficult, you have to establish what that really is. And for each of you, it's different. Some people have difficulty with reading, some with math, some with science, some with physics, some with art. You know, so probably, I wouldn't say that any one art has been complicated or incredibly complicated. I think really there have been arts that I've had less time to dedicate to than others, which of course, like anything, makes it more complicated to master.
What kind of advice would you give to anyone who would want to get into martial arts?
When I first started martial arts, when my father did, you chose you know, there's all this talk about lineage and pedigree. Okay, well, how many of you are in direct lineage to the president or the queen or, you know, look, we're not all the same. We're not all equal. And, you know, people argue that all the time. Well, we all are equal. No, we're not. I can't get out in the NBA right now and out-dunk Michael Jordan. Can I? I mean, anybody here think I could do that? I didn't think so, right? It would be entertaining. I mean, if I kicked him in the legs, maybe. I can't go out on a football field right now and out-throw Peyton Manning, and he's retiring. I'm not throwing 60 yards for a touchdown under pressure with a 300-pound mammoth linebacker coming at me. I don't do that. I haven't trained for that. So I'm not equal to that, am I? No. So when it comes to picking an art, I would say look at as many as you can. Understand that you are different. You're not the same as everybody else. And that's not something to be ashamed of. Rather, that's something to be proud of. Take what you're good at and make it perfect. Don't let other people tell you what you should be or how you should be good at it or which art is the best. Or that if you don't come from Ip Man, i.e. Bruce Lee, and on through his lineage, that you haven't really studied a martial art and that you don't really know it. People will tell you that all over the martial arts. These are people who've forgotten lesson number 1 in martial arts. It's called humility. Humility. All right? People talk about respect, they talk about honor, but they lack humility. So, look at different arts. People with long arms may want to box, may not want to touch a martial art. People with long legs may be interested in taekwondo, or maybe some forms of kung fu. People who have medium builds with a wide base may be interested in kung fu or kenpo. Other people with a wide base and fast, short arms may be interested in kenpo, jiu-jitsu, something that's more hand-oriented. Or someone that's well-balanced may walk across many of them. Here's the thing with martial arts. There's a lot to be said for discipline, there's a lot to be said for respect, and there's a lot to be said for someone that spends their whole life in one martial art. I take my hat off to that. That takes discipline, it takes focus, it takes dedication, and that's something to be proud of. But martial arts today, everybody almost is hybrid. And even the guys who claim, I am one martial art, this is my art, I've created it. Well, McDonald's makes 40 different types of food nowadays. Okay? And these guys who have one martial art, most of them in the US, even though they claim to have one, to be from one, study many and incorporate those teachings into their studio. Because you have to today if you're going to be competitive in today's martial arts world. So, I love the arts, I respect them, I love its history, where they come from, but I would say it has some similarities to being a mechanic or a surgeon. You have different tools for different jobs that you need to do. If I'm getting in the ring with someone I know specializes in boxing, maybe I want to sweep him, maybe I want to take him down and grapple. That means I need to have some grappling knowledge. Or if I'm with a kicker, maybe I want to close the gap, get inside with my hands. Maybe I want to take him to the ground and lock him up. So I pull different tools from my shed based on who I'm going to fight and what I know about them or what I see in the ring. So I would say look at them all, find somebody that understands humility, find a master who understands that first and foremost he will always be a student. That's huge, and it is hard to find today. A million masters that will get up there and tell you how great they are, why their art is the best. Be careful of those. And I mean that sincerely, because if they're the best, think about the arrogance that that statement requires. Billions of people on this planet. Many of them have created a martial art. But you're going to find one or two guys that tell you theirs is the best. Billions of people. What sort of arrogance does that take? You see what I'm driving at? So, pay attention, study, read, look, make a very informed decision. And if you want to spend your life in one art, go for it. That's great, man. More power to you. A lot of hard work, dedication, and respect there. But don't be afraid to branch out. I would encourage that.
Very good advice. Going back to Power Rangers, did you ever think that back then it would be the success that it is now?
How many of you thought you'd be sitting here talking to me 20 years ago? It wasn't going through my mind either. I promise. I mean, we knew we had this global phenomenon. I mean, it was just this tidal wave of a show, but if you had told me then that I'd be talking to you now, if you looked out from behind Mom's itch and been like, hey, I'll see you in 22 years and we're going to talk about did you know what was going to happen then? I don't think I could have even figured it out at 17, 18. I would have never dreamt it. Would have never dreamt it. So I had no idea. But I tell you what, I love meeting you guys now, hearing your stories now. I mean, I really do. It touches me. It's pretty cool. And guys, you're allowed to be touched and still be a man. All right? It's okay. I'm not saying start crying, but you can be touched.
We do have a few minutes left. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question?
Do you still watch the new iterations of Power Rangers? Do you keep up? And what do you think of
I've met quite a few of the new guys on the road over the last 2 years. Some of them are really cool. I wonder if I was that energetic at 18. Probably was. No wonder my parents kicked me out. No, I haven't seen, I mean, I've seen a few clips here and there where guys are like, hey man, this is super mega whopper Zio-ish something. I'm like, wow, and then they'll throw a SmackDown in there. I'm like, wait, is this WWF? What are we talking about? So it's changed a lot, and I've heard both good and bad about that, but you know, you hear that about anything that changes. I love the guys that I've met that have done it, but I couldn't tell you much about what they did on screen. Just that they're a part of the family now, you know? You've been a Ranger. I don't need to love, appreciate, or agree what you did with the show. You're part of the family. So, part of a brotherhood and a sisterhood.
Any other questions?
I got one. When you were a Power Ranger, did you use any pickup lines on the ladies? Power Ranger pickup lines. Wait.
So many things I could say to that. No, I didn't. I always thought I was pretty much just a guy. So I tried to do it the old-fashioned way. I don't mean it, I meant interact. However, I will throw my buddy under the bus, 2 of them. To this day, Walter Jones and I will be traveling the world. You know him as Zach, and he is absolutely a ladies' man. He is no shame. Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, no, that's me. I was Zach. I was a Black Ranger. Yeah, how you doing? Mastodon. And sometimes if I catch him at the right time, I'll be like, Tyrannosaurus ate him some Mastodon. So, you know, we've had a good time with that. Another guy that does it, Steve Cardenas. Like, yeah, I was the Red Ranger. Yeah, MMPR. That was me. I'm like, all right, and it works. I'm like, you know, maybe I should have tried something different, but no, I never did. I was like, this is me, this is it, what's up, how you doing? They're like, bye. Tyrannosaurus? So, you know, you never know, but it was good times. I probably should have, but I don't know. I think I maybe had a few dates, once or twice.
Any last questions?
What is your opinion of Cisco Davis's fan film? It's the double fan film, or on the cars.
I haven't seen it. No. It's a good question. There's so many fan films out there, I'm at a loss. I can't keep track of them. I saw the Joseph Kahn one, but that's the only one I've seen. Guys, if you see my guys getting up back here, I know I mentioned the charity earlier. Please, no pressure. If you feel inclined, every dollar helps. Please chat with these folks, and if you're not interested, great. If you do me a favor, at least take down the information for the webpage and share it with your friends on your social media so that I can try and help a brother of mine keep his music with his family. And in the meantime, I will sign these and hand them out to whoever I'm supposed to. Is that what we're doing, Kat?
We'll do it at the end of the day, because there's people that are still in the convention. Close the day at 8 o'clock.
So I will
I will
announce.
contact them.
Okay, so she's going to contact you. Give your information to her if and when you make your purchases, and we'll go from there. All right? In the meantime, am I supposed to go back to my table now? Anybody know? Where am I going?
Yeah. It's up to you. You can go get them. If you want to eat.
I like him. I keep him around. All right, so I'm going to head back to my table for a little bit, and much love, man. You guys hit me up on social media, say what's up, say screw off, whatever's on your mind. I'm pretty easy with it, and I'll see you guys around, all right, later this weekend. Cheers.
I'd like to thank Austin St. John. Emma?